Jamaal Bowman was yelling at me, raising his voice. He's got pretty aggressive physical manner, and you guys can check out the video right here.
Come on now, save the party, save America, save the children, do something about guns. Come on, invest in education. The borders what Trump left me. What are you talking about?
Now, that's amazing, and you set that up perfectly because you came down after the media was going all after Santos, and that's typically what happens when he walks down the Capitol steps. That's just a normal day in that gentleman's life. But I heard people criticizing you for not having a debate, and there was no debate there. That was clearly him shouting at you, and of course you were, you're clapping back to him with facts about it's not about the party, it's about the country. And
Marjorie Taylor Greene on a podcast now talking about that same scary interactions you have with Jamaal Bowman. He has this big presence and he comes after people, and you know what? I don't understand. It's just he's coming after me so much. He's scary. You guys know he's black. That solidifies it completely. There's more to her approach here because again, as she originally said last week, there was not only that, but also since he called her a white supremacist, it's the equivalent of calling someone the N-word. Let's go ahead and say that again.
When people accuse a white person of white supremacy baselessly, and that is a baseless accusation against me. It's wrong, it's hurtful, it's insulting, and it's just like a black person being called the N-word. And I think that is wrong and hurtful and disgusting. And so I will not tolerate being called that. And I thank you for calling it out for exactly what it was.
I think we already know the ridiculousness of that statement. But then again, how about this white supremacy line? How dare you call me white supremacist? She said 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 times, baselessly. And also anyone who uses the N-word and calls someone that, she's against that as well. Weird, because again, she showed up at Nick Fuentes' white nationalist Nazi event, but she hates white nationalists. She doesn't like being called one. It's crazy, even though she hangs out with him and then actually approves of someone who does regularly use the N-word and many other slurs towards people that he's actually afraid of and knows that they actually are contribute more to society. Let's put it that way than he does. But let's watch one more part of this whole thing, because again, keep in mind how she's not a white nationalist. She doesn't associate with them at all, according to her. But in this promotional video for this podcast of hers, because in case you guys forgot, she's a congresswoman, but she's making a podcast with her all of her time. This is the promotional video for that, and there's a couple things that were highlighted in it.
Hey guys, I introduced articles of impeachment this week against 5 people that deserve it. Check out Battleground MTG, find out how we save America, and it's through impeachment.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is promoting this new podcast for some reason. I have no idea why, but she's lifting weights as she's doing it, as if that makes any connection to what the hell is that she's talking about, which is stupidity, by the way. So, by the way, if you guys notice something, and that Patriot Takes pointed this out, in her video, she walks backwards. Let's look at this tweet here. She walks backwards and they circle and they notice one thing in the corner. That's a cooler, but it has a Confederate flag on it. Again, she's not a white nationalist. No, she doesn't hate black folks. She's actually despises people who use the N-word, except for people who promote and run and fly that traitor flag to the United States of America. That was the enemy of the United States. People who fly that flag, they're not white nationalists. They're not against the United States of America, but still, she's one of those people. Oh, there's a lot to unpack here, Burbank. I'm sorry I took all the time talking, but go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. It looked like she was lifting that, doing her clean and snatch with an aggressive physical manner until she stopped and made a pitch for her podcast halfway through. That's what I do at the gym. I'm like, all right, as soon as I get this it's go time. We're gonna make a meal out of this. I'm gonna promote the pod. It's ridiculous. We know what it means when a white woman says, oh, he has an aggressive physical manner. He was aggressive towards me. And it's about someone who's black. It has the same vibe of every single Emmett Till type scenario we've had throughout history. And for her to act like that's not what she was doing is ridiculous. She knew exactly what she was doing because she's very familiar with violent rhetoric and aggression, because this is someone who said, if I was in charge of January 6th, it would have been armed. Are you kidding me? And you're gonna say Jamaal Bowman's being aggressive because he's saying that the problem at the border isn't as she characterizes it? Get out of here, that's just ridiculous. The statement about the N-word that she made recently is so absurd. To say that the N-word is, or calling someone the N-word is the same as calling someone a white supremacist. It's like saying I think I hate you is just as bad as saying, or I think you hate me is just as bad as saying I hate you. Those are two completely different things. Like white supremacy is describing someone who dislikes people because of their race, who thinks that your race is better than theirs. It's like saying, I think you hate me. That is not as offensive as saying, I hate you and I think you're less than human because of the color of your skin. Like, it's very simple. It's like John Mulaney's stand-up where he says, if you're saying one word is worse than or is just as bad as the other, and you won't even say one of those words, that's the worst word. It's very clear as a formula for which word is worse. She's just absurd.
It's pretty illustrative of the thought process, though. If you actually point out the way that my white supremacist leanings affect the country, society in general, you're just as offensive as those white supremacists. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Which part of our systems throughout our history oppressed white folks based off of calling them white supremacists? Which part of it did that? I'm sorry, they're acting like it's happening right now because they're calling this normalcy and freedom to be able to attack folks and weaponize your any kinds of systems that you can against those same people that you feel are lesser than you. And part of that is doing things like what Marge is doing. That very intimidating large black man said something to me, so therefore someone needs to do something about it. Yes, that was part of her rhetoric as well. She can't cover it. In fact, she doesn't want to. The message is being given exactly to who she wants to give it to.
My protected identity of being a white supremacist, a fascist. I feel bullied.